What's going on, guys? Omega Guildford here, bringing to you a test hand video of the D.P.Z deck. I was going to do a linear combo video, but with this deck, a lot of combos depend on what your hand is. And if you guys are still interested in that, I'll make a separate video on some simple combos, usually 1 to 2 card combos that yield usually 1 negate or 1 interruption on your opponent's turn. But without further ado, let's get right into the combo. So we're going to shuffle up. Just place a field center here for reference. We're just going to do a random hand, and bear with me because I'm playing this upside down, so it's going to be a little bit awkward first time for me doing this. Okay, just cut the deck. So it's nice and randomized. We'll drive our 5 cards. There we go. Okay, so right off the bat, we have pretty much full combo in E-Telly and Gozuki with a hand trap. So it plays really well against most of the meta decks. You'll see how many interruptions we end on. But we'll go draw phase, standby phase, activate E-Telly. And I did change up the deck a little bit. I added a few cards in, so I'll probably do an updated profile sometime in the coming month. I just want to get a little bit more seat time with the new build, see if it performs well. Okay, I'll just leave the hand down there so it's not obstructing any view. We'll bait the any hand trap that our opponent might have, paying 600 to add us a card to hand. And this time we will get, if I can find it, P.U.N.K to our hand. Now, these kind of plays do play into hand traps relatively easily, but it all depends on what kind of hand trap is drawn by your opponent and also what your hand is or consists of. Usually you can play around 2, sometimes 3 hand traps relatively well if you have the right amount of cards in your hand and the right combo starters. Then we'll just use the P.U.N.K effect and we'll send itself. And right now, because we're going first, we'll send our Bigfoot just to eliminate any kind of randomness from the combo. And that's going to summon out our Journal. Now, what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be synchroing these two. And that's going to make our Chaos Ruler. Okay, doesn't really matter which zone you're going to be summoning him in because it's not going to stay on the field long. So we'll do Chain Link 1 Chaos Ruler, Chain Link 2 Deer Note. Deer Note will actually summon out, in this case, we'll summon out our P.U.N.K, just so we have another level 8 so we can have more gas to keep going. And we'll shuffle our deck and cut it. And we'll use the effect of Chaos Ruler to mill 5. Okay, so from here, we have a few options. In this case, you could add either the Veiler or the P.U.N.K Zombie. We already have an almost summon in Gozuki, but the added benefit with the P.U.N.K Zombie is we also drew into Mizuki, so we can extend our plays further. So in this case, we'll add the P.U.N.K Zombie. Next up, what we'll do is we will normal summon our P.U.N.K Zombie and use the effect to send a card from our deck to the grave, or a zombie rather. And in this scenario, we will actually send out our Shang-Chi to the grave. Now this will be level 4, and then we'll use the second effect to target himself as well and send a card from our hand, in this case Gozuki, to the grave, so to make him level 5, at which point Gozuki's effect will trigger. So we will banish one other zombie from our grave with a different name, in this case Shang-Chi, and that will allow us to summon a zombie from our hand. So we'll summon Mizuki to the field. Shang-Chi's effect will trigger now because she was banished, and we'll banish the Gozuki from our grave in order to summon her out. Now what this does is it'll give us another Foolish Burial and get us to more cards to keep furthering our combo. Now we still have the Ash in hand, and you can see we've already generated a +1 advantage in card economy. Our grave is already stacked up, so if we get Snow in grave, it'll further extend our plays. So what we'll do from here actually is we'll link Mizuki and Unizombie, and we're going to make our broken link in P.U.N.K Fibrax effect will trigger now, and what we're going to do is we're going to summon out a tuner from our deck, and in this case we only have the one card in the hand, and it's a hand trap, so it's an interruption. So in this case we're actually going to grab the Glow Up Bloom and summon that onto the field. Okay. Next up, our next play will be to sync both Bloom and our Chaos Ruler. And this is going to make our first form of interruption for our board. So we're going to sync those two into a 9. And we'll make Hot Red Abyss in our rightmost zone. Just to play around Galateas, to play around the Link 2 that lets you swap your monster with your opponents. At which point now we trigger our Glow Bloom effect since it was sent to grave, and we banish it for cost. We'll wait for a reply from our opponent. If our opponent has no interruptions, at this point we will chain our Necroworld Banshee in graveyard, banishing herself as cost to activate Zombie World directly from our deck. So now we activate the Zombie World, and Bloom will resolve. And now because Zombie World is on field upon resolution of Bloom, we get to summon out our P.U.N.K Balladrop. And you can see I still have Chaos Ruler in grave. I haven't used its effect to summon itself back onto the field. So it's just sitting there in case we do need extra advantage later on. Now what we'll do is we'll actually overlay, we'll overlay our P.U.N.K and our Foxy Tune. And this is going to make our Zombie Vampire. And we'll make it in the middle zone. And we'll use the effect, detaching P.U.N.K Balladrop. Just do a quick cut, and we mill 4. What our opponent mills is irrelevant because we just want to see as to what we get. It's not the best of mills, but we got one monster, so we'll summon out the Unizombie. From here, we'll use the Shang-Chi effect to send a zombie from our deck to the grave. And in this case, it'll be our All Ghul Mazera, just to give us some blanket protection for follow-up, for next turn, whatever the case may be. And then we will link our Shang-Chi and our Unizombie. We will link our Unizombie and our Zombie Vampire, because we need a zone, into Vampire Sucker. Okay, and that'll be the end board. This is a very simple end board. But what this actually does is allows you to play on your opponent's turn relatively well. We do have an Ash Blossom as our first point of interaction. We have an Omni Negate in Abyss, and it doesn't seem like much with what you have on the field, and you're probably thinking that you could have got much more from the hand that we had. But on our standby phase, now we get the P.U.N.K summon onto the field. On the opponent's standby phase, we summon out the P.U.N.K. And this is provided they have no interruptions. And what this actually does is, now with the P.U.N.K on field, when you activate your Ash, it's a live trigger for P.U.N.K, so you can banish a monster on field. You could also use the P.U.N.K Fibrax, tag him out, and bring out your formula. And what this does is, you get to draw 1, and then you can also trigger Balladrop. And in this scenario, you actually have a few options as to what you can do. You can either sync the Formula Synchron and the Shang-Chi on your opponent's turn into your Skeletal Dragon Felgrand. This is good especially in the 10E matchup if they have a Shuna or Vishuda and they need to use their grave effects to resolve them. A lot of times once they hit the field, you can just synchro into him. Triggers effect to banish 1, chain Balladrop if you haven't used the effect to banish, and banish the second monster. So this is where I was mentioning in the deck profile where you can get the multiple purposes. Or what you can do is actually synchro the formula and the Doom King once you've used it up, of course, or at least use one of the effects. Synchro those two into one of two options. Depending on the matchup, if they have an established board, you can synchro into your Shiranui Sun Saga. And now with the Sun Saga, you can actually, as long as Zombie World's on field, shuffle back Formula and shuffle back your Chaos Ruler to non-target destroy 2 cards on the field. It's a 35 body, so it's fairly strong. Or you can go into your Supreme Sovereign, if it's a graveyard reliant deck, and start triggering its effects when you use stuff like your Doom King, if you end up having him on field, or if you end up using your Algol effect to protect, you can also trigger your Sovereign to banish a card on field and grave. So that's just a quick test hand. I'll be releasing more test hand videos throughout the weeks, so stay tuned for that, you guys. This was just something to kind of give you guys some content. I apologize for the delay. I've just been extremely busy with full-time job and my own business and trying to create content because I genuinely love the game. If you have any questions or if you have any advice as to improvements or even as to what the deck can do differently, I'm definitely open to suggestions. You know, let's create a community where we can evolve with the deck and actually do well with the deck at regionals, locals, whatever the case may be. So that's it for right now, guys. If you like the video, please like, subscribe, comment, and Omega Guildford out. Peace.